Hey, everybody. What's up? Hey, Chad.
Yo, how's it going?
Oh, wait, my headset is not hooked up. There we go. That's better. Let's just wait until we get everyone else in this space, and then we'll get started.
Sounds good.
Happy mainnet. We made it.
Yeah, it's here. Finally. Pretty exciting. I was just listening to the talks from Consensus. You guys all crushed it. Really good job.
Oh, yeah. All those videos are live, so definitely check those out. Do you want to share the link to those?
Sure, I can try to find that. Are the CrossChain Expo ones live or just the Consensus? I only saw the Consensus.
I've only seen the Consensus one. I haven't seen the CrossChain Live one yet.
Yeah, but yeah, I watched that. You guys did really well. Let me try to find a tweet about it. I don't know if THORChain tweeted it. I'll try to pin it up if I find it.
THORChain didn't tweet it yet. I have a scheduled one to go out on Monday for the Consensus one.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that was a great conference. Chad Barraford will be on in a sec along with some other folks, and yeah, then we can get rolling. We'll let people up on stage, talk about THORChain, and then talk about where we're going. We have some fun announcements for today. If you're here right now and you want to come speak, this will be like a pretty open space, so people can just request and come up and talk. But let's leave it to more like, anecdotal things rather than like questions. If people have questions about THORChain, maybe like another time, not today. But yeah, there's plenty of time today to, just listen to the community and also have some, fun announcements to go through. So if anyone would like to speak, just hit that request button. Chad will be up here in a few minutes, and some other folks from Nine Realms and just the general community. So someone did make a POAP for this THORChain mainnet celebration space. So if you'd like to claim that POAP, you need the POAP app. And all you have to do is type in the secret phrase, and you can claim the THORChain mainnet POAP thing. It doesn't do anything. It's just it's an NFT minted by POAP that says that you were here and you were here at the mainnet party. So to do that, you just have to download the POAP app, and the password is mainnet is here, no spaces. So if you download the POAP app and type in mainnet is here, you should be able to claim the THORChain mainnet party proof of attendance NFT.
Yeah, shout out to PaperX from THORswap. I think he put that together. But yeah, definitely go do that. Also, I just found Chad B tweeted the Consensus video link. So there we go. That's pinned up if people want to check that out.
Yes.
After?
Yeah. Also, I'll invite PaperX up.
Yeah, Paper's coming up.
Hey, PaperX.
Oh, hey guys. I just want to say it's mainnet is here, but all caps.
Yep.
Has to be all caps. Good. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, it's it's actually animated, but I don't know why on the app it doesn't play the animation. So you have to check on their web adder, guys.
Solid. Yeah, everyone get that done. POAP app. I'm gonna mess with that right now too. Gotta get it. Chad, what's up?
What up, son? I feel like it's been a while since I've talked to you.
It's been a week, right? Last week was normal, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Last week. Sorry, I forgot last week.
Yeah, but it was a while before
like
that.
Forever. Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, well, lots happened in just one short week, as per usual in the THORChain world. Feels like more than a week.
Yeah.
I was saying a bit ago, I was watching the Consensus videos. You guys all did a really good job. So yeah, props to you and everyone.
Yeah, it went very smoothly for the most part. Had a good talk, good audience, all that kind of stuff.
I really enjoyed listening to Gavin from Nine Realms. I feel like we don't hear him publicly too often, so that was really cool. Really enjoyed that talk and Q&A.
Yeah, so besides the POAP, there's a couple other announcements that come with this whole space. So let me go through some of those right now. So there is a Binance Live this Sunday. So that's kind of like a live show similar to today, where people from Binance will be asking some THORChain people questions. And that includes Chad Barraford, who's here on the call, the technical lead of the THORChain core dev team, and Gavin, who is the CEO of Nine Realms, and also Chris from Grassroots Crypto. They'll be on Binance Live on Sunday this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And if you ask a question that's answered during the AMA, you can win Rune prizes. So all you have to do is respond to the pinned tweet that's on top of this space right now. Just scroll up. I think you need to be on mobile to see it, maybe. But if you just ask a question and it gets answered during that space, then you could win, real prizes in Rune. But you need a Binance account to enter. So if you have a Binance account and you have a question about THORChain, that's the place to ask it for today. And you can win Rune prizes for doing so.
Binance US as well?
Yeah, I believe so. You just need as long as you have a Binance ID, I think it should all work, but don't take my word on that.
Cool.
Yeah. So Chad, what's the feeling like now that mainnet's live? What does this mean? Well, let's talk about mainnet.
Yeah. So the way that I like to think about it, and I kind of alluded to this in a tweet that I had earlier on, but ChaosNet for me was all about just kind of like proving the technology works. Well, let's take it back even further. Single chain ChaosNet for me was about like proving some of the basic economics and some core concepts worked, right, on a fundamental level, right, of like the slip-based fee model, for example. Can we, get a consensus from miscellaneous anon validators to secure, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of value on the Binance Smart Chain, the earliest versions of single chain KSNet, and that could be the alpha days. And then like multi-chain for me was all about, all right, now can we do that with not just Binance Chain, but like Bitcoin and Ethereum and like these kind of other things, and further kind of testing on a larger scale of the viability and of this code base, of this what we're trying to accomplish here. And I think like what we've definitively done as a product so far is that we've proven that the thing actually functions and works, that it can work with UTXOs, it can work with EVM chains, even Cosmos chains. Like we can integrate with more or less anything. And that's a pretty big feat onto itself. What we haven't accomplished yet as a project is be successful, right? Like we've made it so that you can add liquidity and earn yield and get swaps and all this kind of stuff. But we haven't proven that the network is actually successful. And that what I mean by that is that like it actually becomes a core pillar of infrastructure in the space. And so for me, like mainnet it kind of signifies the kind of switch or the next phase of the development or expansion of this network, moving away from critical functionality and features and moving towards a scalability and adoption, right? Can this thing scale up to a huge amount of trade volume? Can this thing get like a massive amount of adoption from the greater crypto industry? And kind of like, can we get DEX aggregations and integrations? Can we get wallet integrations? This kind of stuff. I think that's really what like the Nine Realms team is really kind of really good at and geared for, versus the original kind of OG dev team was about like having the vision, implementing it, designing it, building the community initially, all these kind of things. And we as a kind of the OG team, so to speak, have gotten it from 1 to 10. I think we've done a very good job along the way. Obviously, we've made our fair share of mistakes, but I think overall, if you look back at it from a high level, we've done a really great job, and I'm very proud of what we've done as a team. And I think what we're now doing is we're kind of shifting the skill sets required to take this project from level 10 to take it to level 1,000, which requires a completely different skill set that I myself and most of the people on the OG team are not really skilled at, which is, integrating with institutions, which is, scaling out to more chains, building the community to a larger sense of it. All this stuff, like structured format of like, the ADR process that Pluto put together, for example, like all that stuff, this derives on a different skill set. And so it makes sense that you bring in a team that's specifically designed for that purpose, which I think is what Nine Realms largely is. Right. And so I think over the next few months, maybe to the end of the year at the latest, the original OG team will stick around and focus on this project, but eventually the PO will happen, or plan obsolescence will happen. And, the community and along with Nine Realms team can take it to the next, to level 1,000 effectively.
What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm late to this launch party. What's going on? What I miss? Marcus, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I think what THORChain did was super experimental, super innovative. Like there was something people were saying like, hey, just give up. We're going to do bridges. And then, every day there's a new bridge that gets hacked. Just kind of like doubles down and triples down and quadruples down on like the mission of THORChain. I think the next things up are increasing liquidity, increasing the amount of validators, just security kind of things, right? And that kind of happens as you scale. I am kind of questioning what is the priority of those two, liquidity versus validators, versus both.
I don't think there's a priority between those two things. I think they're just two things that are constantly going to be needed to be pushed on. Like getting more room into the bond, getting more capital into the TVL. That's so much. The priority is always going to be shifting around, because as soon as you solve one of them, you get something else that's lagging behind, and so then you push that forward, and then something else is lagging behind. It's just going to be a constant like whack-a-mole, just pushing the entire project forward. Yeah, but you said something really interesting about looking at how bridges have been popping up and some of them not doing so well. And I think like one of the things that I've found fascinating over the time span of the last year or two is that like in the earliest days of designing the protocol and putting it together, I wasn't really sure if there was like another implementation or another design pattern that we weren't using that was a really good pattern. And I think over the time span of the last couple of years, like what we've seen is a lot of things pop up and then they don't really work out for one reason or other. They're just fundamentally designed, improperly, or it has some poor token economics or poor security methodologies or what have you. And it's been quite satisfying for me to see that not only the design we had put together actually worked right, but there are a lot of people in the space who are starting to fork our design. Not just the code, some like Maya and other protocols are starting to actually fork the code, but even like other projects like
THORChain, etc.
THORChain, like they are all taking their cue. Like 90% of their design or 95% of their design comes right out of the THORChain playbook, right? And then just re-implements it in a slightly different way, but largely the same concept. And that just to me, this further cements that the design pattern that we had kind of concocted years ago was the right one.
Yeah, it feels like it might not be simplest, but it's kind of the most bulletproof for all scenarios. And as you said, Marcus, like we kind of keep seeing like vulnerabilities in other sorts of models and stuff like that. And then even just on like the centralized kind of other competitors in the sense of THORChain, like the more they make moves, the more it feels like the THORChain style design is just going to become necessary. Like we just saw Coinbase posting like you're gonna have to dox every address you send to and stuff like this. So the more these kinds of things come around, the more it feels like the THORChain design is really just like the winner, because it is the most unstoppable. It might not be the simplest design. It might not be like there might be other designs that are easier in a sense, but this is the design that is kind of like the most unstoppable force to really win out in the long term.
Yep. I think part of that is the focus on decentralization since the beginning and the inception of the idea. While a lot of cross-chain protocols, or even just like dApps or protocols in general, they start off, obviously, any project starts off way more centralized and decentralizes over time. But THORChain's design from the beginning was meant to be a decentralized protocol that's governed entirely by the nodes, and assets are secured using the rotating threshold signature vaults, which we're seeing that become really the standard for interchain security, where that's the only provably secure way to secure large quantities of something like Bitcoin without using a bridge, which is inherently a lot less secure. So I think the focus on decentralization since day one, while it's caused the project to maybe not have as much like power bootstrapping, and in the beginning, now this is the stage when we can really start ramping up and expanding outwardly as an already decentralized network.
Yeah, to me, like the first stage of the project was, everything that Chad and Tyler had mentioned. It was basically proving out that the design even would work. and that, the whole philosophy behind like Bifrost and THORnode and their various designs was actually even viable. And there was a lot of people that said that that it wasn't. I loved the tweet from you yesterday, Chad, where you were basically calling on Hayden.eth to walk back. If there was a time that he could walk back his claim that basically THORChain is a scam and it was never going to work. Like, I think at this point by now, we've proved to everyone in the ecosystem that it is possible to do native cross-chain layer 1 swaps. And so that, to me, like the declaration of mainnet is that we've proven that milestone. We know that the design works. And from here forward, we're entering a new phase where we're trying to essentially hit a moving target of this oscillation between supply and demand. And so in that sense, supply is like the liquidity and demand is just the demand for swaps. And so there's different metrics that we've identified, like liquidity and volume. We can now start to go in and optimize. So there's a few things that will optimize volume just from like almost like in an inorganic sense. And that's adding new chains. So every new chain that we add is, increases our ability to capture new market share in new markets. So adding new chains is going to be a big priority going forward. But then just on the actual organic demand side, I think DEX aggregation is probably like the biggest thing to look out for. And so DEX aggregation is like, it's a combination of both like technical innovation achieved by the core team in regards to like wrapping, the Uniswap or the SushiSwap smart contracts and routing, trades through the Ethereum liquidity pool on THORChain, and then calling into functions in either in like Uniswap or SushiSwap or any other on-chain DEX to basically give THORChain users access to their liquidity and vice versa to give their users access to Bitcoin. So say, for example, you could, swap directly from Bitcoin to anything in any of the Uniswap Ethereum pools using THORChain. So that's like sort of the DEX aggregation technical innovation. And then when you combine that with 9 Realms is sort of business development machine that we're spinning up right now, which Eridanis has been a huge contributor on. When you get that, we're basically as a team going out and approaching these different aggregators, building proof of concepts for them, showing them how it's possible to integrate liquidity from other chains into their dApps. And so that in tandem, sort of the technological and the BD, we're going to basically be able to expand the reach of THORChain and drive more demand for organic volume through the platform, which in turn accrues value for Rune in the sense that people want to basically hold Rune so that they can get access to the trading fees. So that's just on the demand side, and then on the supply side, of course, the single-sided LP is going to be a huge contributor there. But maybe I'll let someone else who's more, working more closely on that can talk about that. I don't know if that's been discussed yet, but maybe Chad, you wanted to talk about single-sided LP?
Yeah, sure. Single-sided LP is basically the idea that you can provide an asset like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Tether or whatnot. Well, maybe not Tether because it's an ERC20, but that has to be determined later. But the idea is that you can provide that single asset without taking on any Rune exposure. You're only taking on exposure to the assets that you want to take exposure on, and you're getting a yield on that asset, right? So you're earning a layer 1 BTC on your BTC without taking on Rune or selling half of your assets up to Rune and then taking on that price exposure. So like that has been the biggest prohibitor for us as a project to try to get institutional investment into THORChain, is because there's lots of people out there, lots of institutions out there that want to earn BTC on their BTC, but very little that want to earn Rune on the Rune because most of them aren't even holding Rune at all. I think the amount of capital out there that wants to earn BTC on the BTC is like astronomically large, like by orders of magnitude larger than the entire market cap of Rune itself. And so doing this is going to be like kind of opening the floodgates of adding liquidity to the network on a massive scale. That's it basically in a nutshell. Yeah.
So yeah, and then are we talking about have we talked yet about like sort of the mechanism that allows the protocol reserve to basically walk in the rune? So basically, like the protocol will be taking on protocol owned liquidity. And we're still talking about like what the parameters of that would be. Like, do we only do like the biggest major L1s like BTC and ETH? Because that's like the protocol essentially taking on like some prop risk. Or do we and what do we cap it at? But there are discussions right now that we can leverage a portion of the protocol reserve. Since there's however, like over 100 million rune just chilling in the protocol reserve. And we've been seeing, the impermanent loss protection, essentially, not reaching critical levels, even as of this most recent, market downturn. So we're kind of sitting here looking at like the protocol reserve and saying, how can we put this more to use? How can we let this rune, create utility for the network? And so because all of the liquidity pools are against rune in THORChain, we're basically exploring an option where in order to enable the single-sided LP, we're actually leveraging the protocol reserve and actually having protocol own liquidity. So that I think also opens up a huge, like in terms of just like usability, it's a much clearer product for users to understand, like the single-sided LP. And like one of the things that I think sets apart THORChain from any other team or project that's trying to offer these kinds of things is that we're very like straightforward about the fact that like these yields are created from organic demand. Like we're not able to just like say that anybody who does a single-sided LP of Bitcoin will be guaranteed X amount of APR. Like the APR could be anywhere from 0 to whatever, 7%, whatever the percentage is on a normal Bitcoin LP. Like if you were just pairing Rune and Bitcoin, like it is a sliding scale. So people who are doing single-sided, let there be no doubt that this is still an investment that carries some risk, right? We can't. No one and anyone who tells you that they can, I personally think is selling snake oil. But it's not possible to say like you can just get 7% or 10% or 20%, as we've seen some other projects do. No one can just tell you, we'll give you asset on asset guaranteed return. And so one of the things I like so much about the single-sided liquidity mechanism that's being designed right now is that there's no aspect to it that is I would say dishonest. It's an honest mechanism. We're saying if you bring your Bitcoin, the protocol reserve will bring the Rune, and we'll put you into a traditional LP against the protocol, and it's still somewhat of an adversarial gamble that you're taking. If Rune outperforms your asset, it's possible that the protocol profits based on whenever you entered that position. If the asset way outperforms, it's possible that the person who took the single side gains a little bit more. So it's still, the mechanics of it are that it's still an investment, it still carries risk, and there are no guarantees to the return, but it offers something that no one else in the entire industry is offering, which is a safe return that is anywhere from 0% to some percentage. But we know that that based on the design, it isn't, we're not making any guarantees that we cannot keep. And so just from a protocol design perspective, it's like, it's safe, it's efficient. And I think it's a good, it's like sort of a good compromise. And so, yeah, just to wrap it all up, I've been kind of droning on, but those are sort of the three major things that you can look at now that we're in, the post mainnet era. We've proven the security of the model, sort of the fundamentals of THORChain. And so now the goal is to basically expand to more chains, get more UIs and more DEXs on board with THORChain via the DEX aggregation feature, and then solve for deepening liquidity pools using single-sided LPs. All right, I'll shut up now. We might have some fun stuff to share towards the end of the call, so stick around, and we'll we'll have some surprises for you, I think.
Awesome. That was exciting stuff, Pluto. Yeah, thanks for that. You definitely weren't like rambling on. That got everyone excited. I guarantee it. But one other thing kind of related to that, maybe for you, Pluto, or maybe Chad B, so like there won't be single-sided rune in this sort of design, but I know that like I believe it was said that like this can kind of allow, or maybe it was something else, but can allow for, I don't know if they were being called like the light nodes or what is kind of the latest on that front, but anything that you guys could speak to about like not single-sided LP rune, but like single-sided, some sort of yield perhaps on the security side of rune, like what's kind of the latest on what that might look like. Is that further behind? Any thoughts?
Yeah. So one of the ideas we've been tossing around a little bit is as kind of a modification on what we call light nodes or 4 volt nodes. And I'm actually calling them passive nodes, but basically like you can run a node that has no lower bound on how much your rune bond can be. It can be as low as you like. You may not be able to get into the network for security purposes, but like there's no actual requirement on the minimum amount of rune. And so basically, instead of becoming a validator in the traditional sense, and you're helping to commit blocks to the blockchain, here you're joining the Asgard network, like you're becoming a member of the Asgard vaults, but you're not part of the consensus of like committing blocks onto the blockchain. And so what that means is that the number of Asgards, or the number of value that can be stored in those Asgards, becomes untethered by the limitations of Cosmos validators. Like right now, like the most validators you can possibly have is like, arguably around like 200, maybe 250 possibly. And so that puts a cap on the number of nodes that can exist. And if you say that also we can have, 1,000 or 10,000, that kind of changes some things. There's still some mathematical requirements in terms of making sure that it's still economically secure. You can't just have, an Asgard with 39 one rune bonded nodes and, one with 100,000 or something, or 10, a million or something. That wouldn't be economically secure. So there's still some requirements for mathematically to ensure economic security. But generally speaking, that just kind of opens that kind of floodgates and allowing people to kind of get in with much smaller bonds. To be able to contribute to that. And bond providers are still available to this as well. So if you and a couple of your friends want to combine together to, run one of these kind of password nodes together, then, you can do that. The one negative though, that we're still trying to figure out a workaround for, that I haven't been able to think of one, I don't think that there is, but that could be wrong, is that the infrastructure requirements are still the same as running a full validator. So you still need to run a full node of Bitcoin and a full node of Ethereum and a Thor node and a Bifrost and like all these things, which is, expensive. It's between $3,000 and $5,000 a month in cost in that regard. So, and so that also puts a kind of a lower base limit on how much room you can bond into the network for and still be economically profitable with the cost of running all that infrastructure. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We're still trying to figure out ways to get rid of, simplify that infrastructure to make it a lot cheaper and easier for people to run. And possibly you can even get downstream, get to effect where, and this requires more research, but actually having nodes as a service be more prevalent. Now that we don't have usuals anymore, or where single nodes can rug pull their bond providers, it's now more economically secure. Not 100% because you can still rug pull an Asgard, but with other people's capital. But it makes it exceedingly more difficult. You have to have instead of having one node, you now have to have 13 nodes or something like this, or whatever the number is, 14 nodes, something like that. And so that becomes obviously a lot more difficult to execute on, or it's a lot more capital intensive. So we're still investigating this. We're still trying to figure out ways around this to make it even cheaper to run and operate. Because we can get that cost operation down, then that should lower the barrier of entry even more so. But we want that barrier to entry to be as small as possible, just to make sure it allows as much people as we can to provide their room on the bond side, on the security side, to secure this network.
Awesome. Yeah, it makes sense. Single-sided LP for BTC and stuff like that is obviously the biggest product in the world. But for the Rune degens like me, Rune single-sided and can't run a full node is, that's kind of like the holy grail for a lot of the Thor chads. So that's exciting to see. And yeah, hopefully it's accessible and not too technically challenging and can kind of be some ways of getting in the door there. But yeah, cool.
All right, let's do the first little announcement here. So for mainnet, we redesigned the THORChain.com website from the ground up. So anyone who is on the call right now will have a chance to see the preview of it. If one of the URL into like the featured section or whatever, it's THORChain-next.netlify.app. And I figured we'd just give you all who are on the call today a little preview of it. And if you guys have any feedback, either hit my DMs on Twitter or drop it in the developer Discord for those of you who are in there. But yeah, this is the culmination of work from a bunch of different teams, and feedback from all within the community. Zurich Saigon over at Runebase and a bunch of other people have helped contribute to this. So for those of you who didn't catch it, it's THORChain-next.netlify.app. And this will probably be hitting the THORChain.com domain sometime within the next few days. So let's see. Should I just tweet that out and someone can share it real quick from here?
Yeah, if you tweet it out, I can pin it to the top of the space.
Yeah. Cool, sweet. All right, so that's our first little announcement for the space. We got maybe one or two more for you guys if you just stick around here.
Yeah, and let me rehash the stuff I went through at the beginning also. So first off, there's a POAP for this mainnet launch space. So if you need the POAP app, it's the proof of attendance app, and you can type in the secret word. The secret word is mainnet is here in all caps. So if you download the POAP app and type in mainnet is here, all caps, for the secret word, you can be one of the recipients of the POAP for this event.
Yeah, just hit the mint button and then you'll see secret word and then you can enter that. And Paper was saying that it is animated, but in the app, it just shows like the kind of the preview. But I guess if you go to the desktop version, then you'll see the actual one. But yeah, it looks cool. I claimed it.
Yes. Also in the pinned tweets up above, there is an announcement for Binance Live, which is Sunday. It's a live show that's going to feature Chad Barraford, who's on this call right now, Gavin from Nine Realms, and also Chris from Grassroots Crypto, who's well known in this community. And the app is POAP. So if you've never used POAP before, POAP, search that on the App Store, and you can get it. So for Binance Live on Sunday, it's this Sunday, the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So convert that to your own time zone. It's the 27th in Australia that day. So depending on what side of the world you're in, it could be different time. But Sunday the 26th, 8 p.m., if you reply to the pinned tweet up above, what are your top 5 questions you want answered in the AMA, you reply to that and also include your Binance ID, you can win some Rune from Binance if you get your question answered in the show. So definitely check that out if you want to win some free Rune. And also come into the Binance Live on Sunday. This is also a free and open space. So if anyone would like to come up, I know we have some people up here like Khan, who just requested to come up. D-Gens for a Brighter Future, we let up earlier. Also Crypto Italia. So, hey guys.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Hey Khan, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? This is a very exciting celebration. I first of all congratulate everyone who spent years and blood for taking the THORChain to this stage. This is pretty exciting. One event that I would like to have others' opinion is that the THORChain mainnet launch basically coincided with a very interesting event in crypto where DYDX also announced their move from a roll-up to a Cosmos chain. I wonder really how you guys think about this. Like what impacts would that have on THORChain? Could there be potential synergies here, and just general views? I was just curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's fascinating to read. I read through their document that they wrote up, just because I wanted to understand the perspective and how they're planning to do it. And it, they do. So one thing is that people don't know, they do more like perpetuals and that kind of stuff, rather than spot trading, which is what THORChain does. So it's a little bit of a different beast in many respects. There can be some synergies there for sure. Like we can actually hook into them as a chain integration, which should be relatively easy, and then be able to kind of trade between those two different assets. They're using, I would like to get more details on their implementation. That's a little bit thin in the documentation right now. But it sounds like they're just using their own form of synths, which I don't know where they're getting their price oracles from. That's kind of an important question to answer. And one of the other things that they're doing that's kind of fascinating or conceptually interesting, although I'm not quite certain it will actually function or work properly the way they think it is, but like they want to use the mempool as the place to store orders in their order books rather than the chain itself. So you avoid chain bloat from people just adding and removing orders all day. And things only get kept into the chain that are actually orders that get executed. So that you can't actually do with Cosmos right now. You need IBC++. I'm not sorry, IBC, ABCI++. That's not available yet in the Cosmos world. That's probably coming out maybe Q3 or Q4 this year. What's left they say? Probably actually be 2023 if you ask me. That's how engineering works. It always things take longer than you think they're going to take. So it'd be difficult to do. But the problem with that is that like you now have a cost to nodes, which is storing something in the mempool that doesn't have a cost, right? And so that becomes like a gasless transaction in a matter of speaking, which becomes a point of attack. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that. They didn't really go into detail about that kind of stuff. And then the other problem is too that like because Cosmos is a sequence-based system that you order your transactions by providing a sequence in the signature of your transaction. If somebody were to provide multiple orders, but you can't predetermine the order of which those orders get executed. So I don't know how that would actually function. Like if you have an order for this asset and an order for that asset, and then this one is first, it becomes problematic because it can't execute it until the first one is executed. So that becomes like, I don't know how they're going to get around that problem either. So it's conceptually very fascinating and an interesting idea. And it's fun to see somebody kind of step away from the roll-up world and head towards a sovereign kind of like app-specific blockchain, which is obviously we're big fans of on the THORChain project. But like, there's some questions about their implementation that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me at this time, and I would love to get more details from them, downstream.
Yeah, that was very, very helpful. Thank you, Chad, for that. I agree. Like there are many question marks on how the exact implementation would be. The announcement also sounds pretty light, as you said. I think. Yeah, very curious. But like as like lowest hanging fruit, DYDX can potentially be yet another chain that THORChain basically supports. Which is great, I think. And in future, I just think there will be more and more like layer ones that like until this like roll up ecosystem sort of develops, which is really longer than a lot of people expect. I think I just expect to see more layer ones that have a lot of economic value on them, and so that just means like the addressable market is basically keep going to grow, I think.
Yeah, but it's also not just layer ones, right? Like even if DYDX kind of went the roll up route and went to like Starknet or whatever, THORChain can integrate with those as well, right? So it doesn't really matter to us as a project whether or not they go on the roll up side on some layer 2 concept or they go into their own sovereign chain. It's the same from our perspective in many respects, at least. And so we can still integrate with them and still kind of share capital or liquidity in a sense. That is actually true. Thanks for correcting that. Actually, there could be also the added value of like, especially
like in both cases, right? In Optimistic and ZK, the light clients, which is pretty much Ethereum, right? Ethereum is almost operates like smart contracts on Ethereum almost operate like a light client to these rollups. They have a very long time to finality. In either case, it's either hours or 7 days. In the THORChain case, it would just be final because Thor nodes would run a full node of those rollups. So there's definitely an added value there.
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation with, I think it was, I want to say it was Arbitrum, if I remember correctly. It was a while back. It was like over a year ago, about like hooking into something like an Arbitrum, and they were telling us was that one of the real values of integrating with THORChain for them was just that you don't have to wait a week to get your your ether off of the layer 2. You could get it off more or less now, which is like a really kind of a tasty little feature for them. But you're right, like we can be very helpful to those L2s and allow them to move more nimbly, which is really powerful.
Can we also get more color on how would like user experience look like in a DEX aggregation feature once the DEX aggregation feature is added? Like what sort of the user flow will user go through? What's the interface going to look like? I almost feel like it's like we don't have to like reinvent wheels in a lot of stuff. Like THORChain has really solved the hardest challenges. I just think user experience has to become better and better for more volume, more traction, etc. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so the UX should be almost no change to the user interfaces. Like when you go to, let's just call it like Uniswap, whatever, and you go to make a trade and you're saying, this is the asset I have and this is the asset I want. The only difference now is that you can choose another asset, another blockchain or ecosystem. But there's actually no, it might be require a different additional like UX things in terms of like understanding the complexities of like, okay, you've made a trade to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's got 10-minute block time, so it's being processed, right, or something like this. Whereas within the same ecosystem, it's the same experience no matter what asset you're going to. So there's a little bit of a complexity that the UIs have to go through to kind of explain to the user or give them some sort of like vision or viewpoint to understand where their trade is, like in the progression of their trade. But for the most part, it shouldn't be very much different at all. Other than that,
one thing that I'm just considering, just a shower thought here, like in a centralized exchange, like in a mature one, I would just like register my addresses, right, for certain networks, and then like 2FA them maybe, and just like allow withdrawals to those specific addresses. And so like a centralized exchange would basically know me, right? Know my profile, know the address associated with my account. And so I don't have to enter an address every time I want to withdraw. Could a similar user experience be implemented on THORChain? Because and correct me if I'm wrong here, but as far as I know, currently I just have to enter an address every time I do interact with THORChain. I think something like that could be really like improvement on the user experience.
So yes, there's nothing technically wrong with what you were just kind of describing. You can totally do that if you wanted to. But I think part of the idea, one of the values of THORChain versus a centralized exchange is that there is no signups. There are no user accounts. There's no email and password to kind of get into something that's stored on some cloud box server thing someplace in the interwebs. But like you can do that locally, right? You can just like have your AsgardX or your THORswap kind of saved locally in the cookies of your browser or whatnot, or whatever mechanisms for local storage, and to save like addresses with names. My Ledger 1 address and my Hot Wallet 1 or whatever it is you want to call your wallets, my uncle's wallet or something like this, whatever you want to call it. You can totally do that. That's just like, to me, that's a very simple UI thing. And it's up to UIs who, maybe there are UIs out there that want to build actual logins where you can store information persisting across different devices. And that's up to the different UIs to kind of tackle that and decide for themselves what they want to do.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate these. Really don't want to take too much time. I was curious on those subjects.
By the way, Ken, while I have you here, Ken's one of the guys that I've floated some of the early designs of like THORify and stuff too. He's a smart guy on the economics and other ways. But like I actually just penned up a GitLab issue on like order books on THORChain and how we can do that in a computationally efficient way that doesn't kind of bog down the chain. I'm curious to your perspective, like how would that change THORChain if it had order books rather than just kind of spot trading on demand?
So how would actually something like that would be implemented? Yeah, I'm not sure. So would providing liquidity become something like an active process, or could it remain passive? Because I think that's a really crucial part of this question.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty much the same as any other order book you interface with, where you have a bunch of, let's call it like layer 1 Bitcoin, send a layer 1 Bitcoin to the network. It depends that you keep that, it mints a cent on your behalf. That's what actually happens underneath the hood. And then it waits for the price of Bitcoin to drop to a certain amount or whatever it is that you're looking for to buy at, or maybe sell, depending upon which direction you're going. And then when the network has an opportunity to be able to swap against the pool, with that, order that you wanted of like, I put in one BTC, I'm looking to get out, 25,000, tethers or whatever, tether tokens, whatever. It'll just wait until it has an opportunity to execute it on it. And then it executes it automatically once, the price is there to support it.
I see. Okay. That sounds very interesting. So you would essentially send limit orders to THORChain, and they would be executed on THORChain and swapped out to the native assets once executed, or just remain on THORChain, I guess. Okay. I mean, that sounds like that would increase volume, although I have to think about like all of those limit orders would be just like public information for everyone, right?
Correct.
Correct. But so that would also change some of the ordering on the swap queue. So I wonder how you think about that. Because normally, like if you see a limit order like that on your acceptable value, but then if you have a logic embedded on how you can process those orders and in what order basically they can be processed, you sort of eliminate or minimize that potential MEV, right? So
the swap order is still the same. We still have the swap queue, and the swap queue orders based upon what's the most valuable to the network effectively. And so the order book would just say, this order can now be executed, like it can now be satisfied because the pool price is this price or whatever it is, and then just basically moves it from the order book into the swap queue and still gets ordered within that swap queue, like the ordering of how that works already, and just gets executed, And if there's something happens where the price changes underneath it and it can no longer be satisfied, then it attempts to make a swap. The swap fails due to the output coin token quantity is not quite what it needed, and therefore it just gets sent back to the order book, waiting for another opportunity.
Sweet. Let's get to some of the other people who are up on stage here. Thanks, Con, for coming up. Appreciate it. DGens for a Brighter Future has been waiting for a while. What's up, man?
Hey, everything is fantastic. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to come up and just say how grateful. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I figured my mic was out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, you can finish whatever you're going to say, then we'll move on to some other people.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting implementation. Basically, like there's definitely a demand for it. Many people don't want to stare at the laptop screen waiting to execute their orders. So initially, I just think that would increase volumes. I don't see any risks currently, but would have to think more about it, I guess.
Cool. I'll send you the GitLab issue downstream. Sorry to interrupt you, DGens for Brighter Future.
No, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, anyways, hey, I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful to this community. You guys are awesome. And I wanted to just say that briefly. I had an amazing time with Chav and Barraford yesterday. We did a live stream and we asked a lot of questions about mainnet, Monero integration, among many other amazing things going on with Forify, Tor. There's a link in my Twitter. I commented below as well if you'd like to watch that. And THORChain is inevitable. I think it's so important to have a decentralized point where we can swap between native assets. And I really wanted to emphasize that this is such an important project and it's done so much for me. And I'm just very grateful that that Chad, you took time to come on. Anyways, I look forward to hearing more, learning more, and yeah, I know it's corny. I know I'm a corny person, but anyways, you all keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for your support. Links in my Twitter, and yeah, I look forward to doing more fun things on THORChain. Cheers.
Sweet. Crypto Italia, I see you've been waiting for a bit. You want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hello, everybody. I have a quick question for Chad, referring what you was telling before for Chad and for the UE builder. It will be possible to open community on nodes, so to offer also single staking rune. Because yes, in one side there are institutional and big capitals that don't want to be exposed to Rune, but there are small investors and retail that maybe are very interested and cannot absolutely get to the point. We're talking about 1,000 token over the point to one node, and also eventually building it under a DAO where community will provide capital to the node and share. I think that's maybe also for sorry for my bad English, and also I have a couple of drink and a couple of spliff, so sorry about that if I'm not, but that's the point. I mean, it would be possible to run it, to run a node, a community on, so to offer single staking rune as well for small for retails.
Yeah, sorry, I think I missed part of that because of kind of some audio problems, possibly. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not sure if everybody else heard better than me. But yeah, I think the question was really about like getting so people can earn rune in their rune without having the high cost of rune requirements and the infrastructure requirement. Yeah, that is something that I think myself and other people continue to kind of ponder on and think on, and think of a way we can do that in a way that does not take from the security of the network, right? It doesn't place any new risks on the network. That's something that's at least very important for myself in thinking about this problem. We're still thinking on it. I don't have an answer for that quite yet. I've been thinking on it on and off for the last year or so, but we still want to come up with a solution one of these days, but not yet. But we might come up with one at some point.
Crypto Italia, you're an absolute legend. I love your accent. I would love to share a drink and a spliff and maybe an espresso with you one day. Paper X, you've been waiting patiently. What's up?
Oh, I just figured, I mentioned something in response to the previous question about just the UX around, managing so many cross-chain wallets on THORChain interfaces. THORnames has gone live on mainnet, and that should be really pretty soon on THORswap for you to register. And in a way, I think that addresses some of the the sort of the tediousness around what we talked about, what was sort of mentioned by sorry, I forgot your name. Ken. But previously mentioned, right? So in a sense, what that would enable, for those who don't know what THORnames is, you can register a name service like such as Chad.Thor, and then you assign a a BTC address, a ETH address, and like basically every L1 chain on THORswap. And so in the future, whenever you want to swap, you could just enter that Chad.Thor, and if you want to swap for BTC, it will just send it to your Bitcoin address. So I think that kind of answers part of the dilemma that was previously raised about like just managing so many different wallets. Obviously, there's a lot of cross-chain wallets now. I think people are obviously realizing the importance of that, and obviously one of our ecosystem good friends, XDeFi, is someone that's working on that, obviously. Even for us at THORswap, we're working on our own mobile wallet called Hammer Wallet, which will kind of bring that sort of centralized exchange-esque experience that was sort of mentioned, where you just have to connect your wallets once, and when you enter the app, it'll know all your addresses, and you just swap, and then THORChain sort of does everything on the background for you. So I think in terms of the THORChain experience with dealing with so many different chains, and just the multi-chain future that we're kind of heading into, the user experience will just get better and better. But in the meantime, THORnames is coming out, it's out on the mainnet already, and it should be live for everyone to register on THORSwap pretty soon. So definitely grab one of those if you're just want to streamline your cross-chain trading experience, basically.
One thing to be aware of that, though, just so people are like, the difference is that, like, if you get a THORname, you're registering some name with some address, which is kind of like doxing yourself, depending upon what that name is. If the name is like Chad Barraford, then obviously I'm doxing myself that this is my address, right? At least that's probably true. But if my name is like OX04725012 or something like this, then it doesn't really dox much. Versus if you have like some sort of local storage, a way of naming chains naming addresses, then that's not publicly disclosing any information. So just so people are aware when they're looking at THORnames, this kind of stuff, that you are publicly associating this name with this address. So just be conscious of that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I suppose we still have our key store method, whereas if it's just encryption of all your wallet addresses, and you just have to. There's one extra step of obviously dragging in the file, but I guess it's similar to the centralized exchange experience of typing in the password and having all your wallets connected.
To back up for a minute, it's pretty incredible how the UX of multi-chain wallets has really been evolving over the past year. In the past, you really haven't seen this type of interactions between wallets. People use one wallet for their Bitcoin, they use another wallet for their ETH, like maybe MetaMask, and they use something else for all their other chains. And it's really been incredible over the past, year plus of THORChain hardening and ChaosNet, the different wallets that are as part of this multi-chain community, which obviously includes really hardcore principles like self-custody and non-custodial wallets. It's really been awesome to look at the evolution of these wallets and how it makes the multi-chain experience better, swapping between your own self-custody wallet on chain A to your own self-custody wallet on another chain, just from one user interface. And apps like XDeFi Wallet and Thor Wallet have done a really great job at making that experience a lot better and smoother. And I'm sure that Pluto and I have talked about this a lot in the past, where it's so obvious that this is the way that things are going to have to be in the future. People, if they get stuck in a single chain wallet, they're anchored to that one ecosystem. They're beholden to that company that maintains, let's say MetaMask wallet to, only use whatever kind of apps that that wallet supports. But we see a future of more multi-chain interoperability, along with the principles of self-custody. So it's been great watching the evolution of these self-custody wallets, and hopefully we really see the improvement of their UX and more wallets, more options for users in the future as we kind of delve more into the multi-chain world.
I gotta come in here now.
Yeah.
About the issue of bridges. I think you guys heard about the Harmony hack. It's a lot of money. $100 million worth of assets have been exploited. I suppose if code is law, technically speaking, hasn't been stolen. It's been placed in someone else's hands. To quote Omar Little from The Wire, money ain't got no owners. Money only got spenders. But you see, I think, as someone who's worked with the Harmony ecosystem for quite a while, the idea of having a bridge controlled by a 4-signatory wallet, only 2 signatures were necessary to drain the entire wallet, versus a trustless bridge, or something like THORChain, where it has a lot of the same trustless elements, right? Because it uses the liquidity pool system. Having this kind of multi-chain swap feature where it does still have the native tokens involved, it would have avoided the $100 million loss. Well, maybe it will not be a $100 million loss. Who knows what will happen to it? But I'm not sure what's going to happen to Harmony. Its market cap is only 300 million. Had it been using a THORChain type solution, and it was mostly ETH, right, that was taken. So it could have run some kind of integration of THORChain or something like that, or at least invested in advertising the services of THORChain instead of the bridge with four signatories, two of which were only necessary to drain the whole thing. It does have a trustless BTC bridge, but in many ways that kind of captures a lot of the features of THORChain, but it's still worse. And I say this as someone who's been working with Harmony for quite a while and is involved in the development community. And it's 1/3 of the market cap of Harmony is now gone. I don't know what you would call it. It's certainly going to be problematic. I don't think that people are going to get reimbursed, but this is the third bridge hack of significance in the last 3 months that I can remember.
Yeah,
bridges suck ass.
So my call or my request would be for like any communities or any projects who are thinking about like building their own bridge. Don't do it. Just use THORChain.
Well, that's obvious. I just said that though, so you're just repeating what I'm saying. But as someone who is building, and I think the issue is not necessarily the issue of the bridge. For example, THORChain from their perspective, right? They do have to have the assets involved. So, for example, I'm looking at a network which is a relatively new network called Shardum. It's a terrible name, Shardum. Oh God. But anyway, they would need to integrate those assets into THORChain, and that would be important for the multi-chain swaps, right? Otherwise, you could just send the assets from THORChain into Shardum at some point when that integration arrives, correct? However, it is relatively easy to create a bridge, but it's relatively hard to manage the security of the bridge, right? Well, I don't know if it's relatively hard. It is something that seems easy, therefore people get complacent, and that's unfortunate, right? Because Harmony has just lost 1/3 of its market cap. 2 of its core team members obviously didn't give a fuck and had their seed phrases either stolen or something else. So for someone who's building a new project, for a small chain, you do have to wait for the THORChain integrations or the THORChain liquidity pools to run up with the native tokens of that chain, though. So that is something you have to be aware of. I mean, a bridge is a good initial step. There aren't many other options, but maybe if we give THORChain a bit more love, because THORChain is amazing, we can get a lot of smaller chains with some native assets through into THORChain, so we can not worry about creating bridges. But it should also be mentioned, I would like to ask a question to Chad, not Chad THORChain, but Chad, the good-looking one.
Hello.
Are you saying Chad Barraford?
Yeah. So I would just like to ask, what is the difference between what Stellar Network does and THORChain does? I mean, obviously, I'm kind of aware what the differences are, but how would you lay out the differences?
Me? I'm not even too aware of Stellar Network. Sorry. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that.
It's spelled CELER. It does do some multi-chain stuff. It doesn't use liquidity pool model. I would guess at some point THORChain can start doing multi-chain NFTs. That's the only advantage I see of Stellar Network right now. But once you guys can start doing some multi-chain NFTs, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot of Stellar. Like I've heard about it in passing, and I haven't actually taken the time to dive into the depths of how it works. But my understanding that it's really just a bridge like any other, more or less. In which case, assets are secured probably by multi-sig. I'm not 100% certain about that. Like again, I haven't read the actual paper. That's what I've heard about it thus far. And so it's not quite cutting the mustard from my perspective.
But it's a lot of bridges. It's like 50 bridges. It's like if you were in Venice, it's like Venice. It's like got little bridges, got big bridges.
Well, yeah. So if I wanted to build a bridge with 50 different blockchains, I could probably do it, within a month. To be honest with you, it would be very insecure because I'd run it myself out of my own, one of the rooms in my place or whatever. Like, it's not hard to build bridges in the sense of you can send me Bitcoin and I'll send you Ethereum on the other side. Like, that's relatively easy. We've seen that. Like, AnySwap did that pretty quickly and these kind of things. But then that's not really adhering to the ethos of what this industry is all about being trustless and not having centralized parties facilitating things and stuff like that. So I'm not too I haven't dived, like I said, I haven't dived into the depths of it, but I'm not really too concerned about it.
Well, let's move on to Jiraiya HCS. What's up?
Hey guys, I just wanted to drop in here. I had a quick question, but before I ask my question, I just wanted to say a massive shout out and a massive thank you to Paper X that I see on the chat here. The other day I was trying to LP using my hard wallet, and it was such a massive pain, and I got so annoyed, and I ended up going to the THORswap Discord, opening a ticket, and Paper managed to help me out with a lot of patience and a lot of grace. So I do really, really appreciate it. I appreciate the work that people are doing in LPU University as well. I think these two Discords are really, imperative to obviously, boost adoption and whatnot. So this kind of brings me on to my next question, or my only question rather. I was on the announcements channel of THORswap Discord just now, or yesterday, and I saw an article that said that Thor Yield V2 is going to be coming out sometime in July. I think it was July 15th or July 25th. Can't remember exactly. Is there any information that, with respect to what we can expect when that is released? I haven't really seen any kind of articles or anything on it. So yeah, any information would be appreciated.
Yeah, there were a couple of tweets from the THOReau account. We can kind of keep this space more focused on THORChain and mainnet, but there should be a THORswap space this coming Thursday, so we can talk more about that there. But yeah, check out some of those THOReau tweets if you want some teasers on what's coming with that. And yeah, shout out to Paper. I mean, 200 followers. Come on, guys! Like, give Paper a follow. He's such a helpful part of this community and does a lot behind the scenes. So yeah, big shout out to Paper.
Thanks. Actually, while you're here, Jiraiya, I was actually going to elaborate on the previous point I was making, which was in regards to multi-chain wallets. I think like THORChain is, we're obviously ahead of the game when it comes to multi-chain. And in some respects, a lot of times, we're kind of waiting for folks to catch up. So in the case of Jiraiya, for example, obviously, because THORChain obviously attracts so many folks that are passionate about, self-custody and security. And so, we have situations where, hardware wallets like Ledger is designed, for single chain, so sometimes you have situations where you're trying to connect multiple wallets on Ledger, and in Jiraiya's, sometimes in Jiraiya's case, you might be connecting two Ledger wallets to THORswap at once, for different chains. So yeah, I think a lot of these cases are situations where Ledger hasn't even thought of, and we're kind of actually just obviously experimenting, and there's some hurdles to overcome. But yeah, super happy to see that folks obviously are really passionate about self custody, and I think that's definitely one of the the most important things about THORChain.
Yeah, just adding on to that, obviously with the whole Ledger integration, it made it very kind of difficult to do the whole process of providing liquidity, because obviously, as you know, I made the whole mistake of connecting two separate ledgers, and as a result, there was some bugs that arose. And obviously, this is going to be something that I feel is, some kind of barrier essentially towards adoption, because obviously, one very key aspect is to make it a very streamlined process to provide liquidity. But if someone who is relatively experienced in crypto is still struggling to do something as simple as providing liquidity, right? Because I'm using a hard wallet, my question is, how is there some kind of roadmap, or is there some kind of implementation in future that will make it very easy for people to do it without much hassle? Because it would be annoying to have a stream of people coming into Discord asking you for help every time, right?
We got a new Ledger Flow UX that's being worked on and should be patched out soon as well for THORswap. So yeah, we're definitely aware of it. And I guess while on the topic of Ledger, if everyone on this channel, on this space, could go hassle Ledger to support THORChain app for Ledger Nano S Plus, that would help out a lot of folks who purchased their new Ledger. Because I think we're still waiting for them to accept that.
Yeah, the especially the hardware wallet space has a long way to go for getting the UX correct for multi-chain swaps, but one day it'll be here in its full glorious form, and anyone will be able to swap very easily from one coin on their hardware wallet to another coin on their hardware wallet. And that'll be a great day that we can see all these things happen. I don't think that a lot of these companies have really thought about the user experience of swapping cross-chain yet, especially in a decentralized, non-custodial manner. So yeah, definitely follow what PaperX is saying. Request it from Ledger. They need to know that this is something that their users want and be able to make these non-custodial swaps right from their own hardware wallet. So hopefully we can get a THORChain integration there one day.
Amazing. Yeah, I look forward to the day as well. Thanks for taking my question. And thanks for hosting this space. And just want to give a massive shout out to everyone in the team. You guys are doing amazing.
For sure. Thanks for the question and comments. And one quick tip on that is, like Paper said, doing stuff to simplify the LP flow with Ledger. But for swaps, it's really no problem. One thing you can do is kind of like what Khan was talking about earlier, but you can just manually enter your recipient address. So if you're only trying to swap between two different ledgers, I know that wasn't your case, but for other people, you can just like paste in your recipient address. You can just kind of click the gear icon on THORSwap. I'm sure other apps have this feature too, but then you can just connect the side you're sending from and just manually enter your recipient address for the other end. Let's go with 0x Bigger. What's up?
Hey guys, so just I have some questions on bridges, and I want to just firstly I would like to applaud the team. What you've been doing here, it's remarkable. I mean, even Aiden Adams thought you guys are a scam, and you launched your mainnet, so you're obviously onto something. And so over the past few weeks, I've been researching bridges, and I feel like they are a very important piece for cross-chain composability. Now we have something like, as granular as BTC is, you can't really use it in DeFi without centralized bridges, basically like Wrap BTC, something like MakerDAO. And that's a very important piece to bring to the table. And you guys are offering these cross-chain swaps or native cross-chain swaps. Like nobody really believes you could do it. And, you've had some ups and downs and all that, and you're here today. So my question really is it really possible, theoretically, to build decentralized bridges? Like, could it talk? I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just asking, because you could do, cross-chain swaps natively. Could you also build cross-chain bridges that are decentralized, instead of one point of failure, because I'm just tired. Every other week, there's a new bridge hack, 100 million, 60 million. It's just too repetitive and it's sickening at this point. Like, we need a solution to this in the community. So what do you guys think about that? Like, decentralized bridges, are they possible theoretically and all that? That's my question.
So there's two ways you can always secure assets, right? In the world of in the real world. And there's either through a trust mechanism or economic incentives, right? Those are only two ways that I really am aware of myself, at least. And so all these bridges we talk about, they're all kind of lean on the trust side, right? That requires that the operators of that bridge are going to secure their private keys well, and that they're not going to rug pull and all that kind of stuff. And because of the value that they're securing is detached from the value they put up in their security, there's no coupling there. That means that there's no inherent security, economic security on the design itself. And so just because the Bitcoin price goes up a lot, it means that it becomes insecure. The only way to do it that I can think of and maintain that security is if it's kind of like similar to liquidations on like loans, where as a node operator, you put up 500 of some asset, and then the Bitcoin price is going up, and therefore the value of the security is heading towards be less than the value of the asset you're securing, and then you're forced to dump more of your asset into acquire more and dump it in. It's kind of similar to how you defend yourself against a liquidation. That's possible, but that's problematic because if somebody doesn't have that money, then they get basically they get liquidated effectively, and then you lose that security, and then. So it's not really a very good mechanism, although it's better than nothing, I suppose. But it's nothing nearly as well designed as what the THORChain mechanism is.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. To go into this a little further, I guess when the other guy brought up bridges, I just want to talk for a second about how non-transparent these bridges are. How you really do have to trust the security of these bridges, especially the holders of any multi-sig, really. And THORChain's threshold signature scheme design with rotating vaults that verifiably prove that they have access to all of the funds every single time that the vaults churn, and prove that all of the assets on THORChain are solvent, and that the nodes have access to move those funds and send those funds to users. It's just a much more trustless way of moving cross-chain than some kind of trusted bridge, where a lot of these security mechanisms are obscured, and that includes things like upgradable proxy contracts and multi-sigs. A lot of these things just aren't transparent with these bridges that we see a lot of these problems with, and people don't know the security mechanisms behind the bridges that they trust their funds with, that they rely on to move between one chain and the other. So I think that's a big distinction when talking about THORChain in relation to a bridge. Thanks for coming up, Bigger. Let's get TokenPad up here. What's up, man? Or Finblow.
Hey guys, I was just wondering, when the idea of single-sided yield came back, kind of resurfaced a few weeks ago. I think there were sort of two competing proposals out there. One where single-sided assets would get paired with single-sided rune just from regular community members, and that seems to have been passed up for what Chad's been more recently describing, which is single-sided asset getting essentially paired with the reserve rune. I'm just curious if somebody can speak a little bit more as to why the decision was made to pair the single-sided asset with the reserve as opposed to rune from people that want to earn yield on their rune. Thanks.
Yeah. So the first thing to be aware of is that you cannot have a situation where like one person walked up with some Bitcoin and another person walked up with some rune, and you just kind of pair them together and then like all is right in the world. That sounds like it works. I thought I did it at first glance when I first started thinking about this problem a while back. But once you actually go through the mathematics of it all, it doesn't actually work like that. The math doesn't really work out the way that you kind of think that it would work out. It's counterintuitive, but that's how it is. And so what's actually happening here is that the reserve is taking on adding rune into the pool, taking on liquidity on both assets, on the Bitcoin and the rune, for example, and it's providing like protection against the rest of the LPs, the regular LPs, like you as an LPer, and it's providing protection against this kind of like this leveraged effect on the rune asset that you have, because synthetics exist in this network. And so you could do a thing where hypothetically, you could provide the network some rune, and then like into the protocol itself, and the protocol just deploys your rune on your behalf. And then, the network using your rune instead of the protocol's rune to accomplish the same goal. And so the net result of that is that you would not be single-sided yourself. You'd be double-sided. Which kind of defeats the point to some regard. But you're also not picking and choosing which assets you're exposing yourself to. And technically, you'd be exposing yourself to like all of the assets on the network, which, maybe that's not something you really want to be exposed to. Maybe you don't want to be exposed to Doge or Litecoin, or maybe you do. Like, who knows? Like, everybody's different. And so I didn't really find it, at least cognitively for myself, that it warranted the additional complexity in the code to support random people providing the rune for this purpose, just because it didn't really accomplish what I think people are looking for, which is to earn rune on rune without exposure to other assets. And so I just didn't go down that rabbit hole for that purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Appreciate it, and great job. And it was also good to meet a bunch of you folks in Austin a couple weeks ago. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, man.
Yeah, great to meet you as well. By the way, while we were on this call, there was two new, proposals that were passed through Node Mimir, and that being the passing of Atom Chain. So that means that the validators have all agreed now that Atom Chain will be added to the network. So hopefully we're looking at a launch date within the next week or two with Atom. It's all ready to go. It's baking on StageNet right now. And In addition to that, the nodes have also set the start of the ERC20 and BEP2 rune kill switch. So if anyone here is holding native rune, if anyone here is not holding native rune, they hold their rune in a Binance Chain wallet or like an ERC20 wallet, like MetaMask. They should upgrade to native rune on its own blockchain. You'll need a new wallet, and you just upgrade your rune 1-to-1 after the kill switch starts, which is in about a month. It'll take about a year, but the redemption will go from 1-to-1 a native rune all the way down to 0 over that time period. So definitely upgrade if you don't have native rune right now.
And tell all your friends too. Any friends that are holding like BEP2 rune or ERC20 rune, like get on their backs and tell them to upgrade.
Yep, a lot of centralized exchanges have announced the support for the switch to mainnet rune. So that includes exchanges like Binance, KuCoin, Kraken, and a bunch of other ones. I don't know if you know the others off the top of your head, Chad. But yeah, a lot of exchanges have announced support. So definitely check if you hold your rune on a centralized exchange, which is it seems kind of crazy to me, but if you hold your rune on a centralized exchange, some are upgrading to native rune, but you should definitely double check that the rune that they are supporting the mainnet upgrade.
Pluto, do you want to give like a little update on Gaia and the state and when that's happening and such?
Yeah, for sure. On the next software update that goes out to ChaosNet, which is 1.92, which is currently baking in StageNet right now, and testnet. So I think we'll probably not release that until Monday at this point. I might be wrong. It might go out like in the next few hours, or it could go out on Monday. But once it goes out on Monday, that will basically do a couple things. 192 is actually a really big and fun release. One of the notable features that's actually going out in 192 is DEX aggregation. So we can actually talk about that a little bit some more because that's super exciting. But the two things that are going to be changing as well that kind of affect nodes and node infrastructure will be finally removing the Terra daemons. So as we all know, last week Terra was formally Ragnaroked from the network. And so now on the next churn after 192, the Terra daemons will be shut down and the vault will basically be destroyed for Terra. And in its place, node operators will be spinning up the Gaia daemons, which will begin their sync process. Once we've given that a couple days to sync, we'll be enabling the actual Gaia integration in Bifrost via another brief update. And then from that point, we will be churning, and then the new Atom L1 pool or inbound addresses, vault, whatever you call them, will be created. And then from that point, people will be able to add liquidity and swap in the Atom asset, which is super exciting. Because combined with the DEX aggregation feature, which is also coming out in 192, we're looking at the ability to use like osmosis, for example, to swap from any asset on THORChain using essentially the swap out function to swap any asset in the IBC universe as well via something like osmosis. And so it's similar to the Ethereum aggregation pattern where we're basically we are outsourcing liquidity for like all of the alts on their respective chains to that native's chain's DEX. And I think that just overall is like a better design pattern for liquidity. Like I think that THORChain should be having the deepest pools of the L1s and should leave the alts on those L1s leave the liquidity for those alts to those L1s respective DEXs. So like rather than trying to compete with Uniswap for $100 million USDC liquidity, the security on the THORChain network is better used for deepening like the ETH pool. That way, if you swap from a really deep Bitcoin pool to a really deep ETH pool, you can use the ETH that you get from that trade to basically to swap on Uniswap's aggregator its contract into USDC. So you'll get a better price if you use DEX aggregation plus deep pools on THORChain. So I think that like DEX aggregation kind of fundamentally changes the shape of the network to being more short, having really a lot of depth on short tail tokens, and then leveraging hard on the DEX aggregation. So super excited for Gaia to land. And once that's underway in a couple months, we'll be exploring opportunities to do DEX aggregation on Cosmos chains as well. So EVM is still first. So we're still going to be like seeing SushiSwap and Uniswap aggregations into DEXs and aggregators like THORSwap and Rango. But then also, as the DEX aggregator pattern matures, we'll be seeing them in the Cosmos ecosystem as well. So super excited to get Gaia out. It was definitely really a lot easier because it's just a copy and paste of the THOReau code. And so for that reason, like any Cosmos chain can be launched relatively easily. So I would not be surprised if we started a campaign to add Osmosis chain after like AVAX, for example. There's a couple other chains, if we want to talk about like the sequencing of chains, there's a couple that have been in the pipe like Dash that might also be slated, but just in terms of like new chains, like anything that's in the Cosmos ecosystem can be added quite quickly at this point. And we've proven that we can go from THOReau to Gaia. So definitely looking for the community's feedback on what other Cosmos chains. I think EVMOS, I don't know how to pronounce it, Juno, Osmosis are all definite candidates. So yeah, definitely looking forward to adding like at least a few more Cosmos chains by the end of the year.
What about is Moonbeam in the works?
Moonbeam, I've never heard of Moonbeam, to be honest, but if people think it's
Moonbeam,
good.
Yeah, Moonbeam is the Polkadot EVM chain. We've had a couple of conversations with them. And I think this could actually be, our foot in the door into the Polkadot ecosystem. Because for everyone that does not know, Polkadot has a different like signing curve than our THORChain vaults currently support. However, Moonbeam uses the same one as Ethereum, so it would be an easier integration. I think after Atom, AVAX, Dash, the ones that are currently in the mix, this could be a really cool one to look into.
Cool. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
Mogarky's up here.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Congrats to everybody on mainnet. It's exciting times. Rune is still heavily on sale, so get it while you can. I just had a question about Kill Switch. If my math is correct, I think we've only got like 25 days until that kicks in. I'm wondering if there are outstanding centralized exchanges that are not making the switch, and then how that might impact their order books.
I'm not aware of any off the top of my head, at least. I can't think of any. I think I'm trying to think of a certain one that was. Like, there was some in the earliest days of THORChain, like there was something called not BitMEX, but BitMax or something like this. I'm not sure if they've switched over or not.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like I haven't kept track of all the different sexes, but I think that FTX is, I guess, delisting Rune, or are they bringing back native?
I think they're bringing back native. Like, I'm not sure what's happening there. To be honest with you, like they sent out this weird, like cryptic article that was like just phrased really odd. And so, I mean, they're early investors into THORChain. Like they've been investors for a very long period of time. So I don't know what's going on with them right now. Maybe they're just distracted on other things or who knows what, but to my knowledge, they're planning on listing native Rune. They just wanted to delist, BEP2 Rune first before listing the native asset, which is what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is doing the same thing, delisting the old and listing the new, but I haven't heard from them in a while.
Cool. Yeah, it just made me a little bit nervous thinking about like if there's an entire market that gets stuck out there and all of a sudden the whole thing is kill switched. That would be pretty interesting, but hopefully they all get knocked out before 25 days comes along.
We don't want that, of course. By the way, like it's kind of a funny idea that the community can like start kind of thinking about or conceptually is that like whatever amount of rune after this like year is over and the kill switch is done and all this kind of stuff, whatever quantity of rune is left over, that just gets reminted back into the network, into the protocol, and just starts getting admitted into as block rewards for the LPs and nodes largely. I think that's one of the ideas what to do after that point, or just leave it burnt. That's another option.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that it would just be burned, but that's also an interesting alternative.
Yeah, by default, it's just going to be burned, and so the max market cap of rune will be 500 million minus whatever the quantity of rune that just never migrated over. But then that has an option to the community to take that amount and just mint it into the protocol reserve, and then just emit it out as rewards to the community.
Yeah, Mogarky, your point does make me wonder about kind of the more like second tier exchanges like Gate or Uphold, or probably a bunch of other ones. And I'm curious if anyone kind of knows if they're switching over. And definitely if anyone listening is holding on kind of like smaller exchanges or knows people that are, like, definitely good to give them a heads up to switch it over just in case these kind of less popular exchanges might not be as on top of their stuff.
Okay. Hi, Chad. I would like to ask, are you expecting more institutional money coming in now that we are celebrating mainnet? And do you think it's going to pose any threat? It's going to pose any risks?
I think I missed the first part of that. What's going to pose any risks?
I asked that or now that we are celebrating the mainnet, do you expect more institutional money coming in? And also, do you think that institutional money coming in now is going to pose any new risks?
Yes, I do think institutional money will be coming in, especially once we get this yield, single-sided yield thing going in the next, few weeks or whatever it is, a month or whatever it is. Once we get that feature launched and deployed, like that's going to be, that's going to open kind of the floodgates, or at least start the process to open the floodgates for institutional capital. And then your second question was whether that poses any risks. Posing any risk? Well, there's a couple of things that happen in that context. One is that the protocol starts deploying rune to the pools to counteract the synthetic utilization risk to the LPs. So rune start to go to be deployed to the pools, which is a good thing in one sense. In a bad sense, it will reduce the rune in the reserve, which means the block rewards will be reduced at that point as well. And tie that with deeper pools relative to bond, the yield of an LP will probably drop as a result of that, and then yield will increase for nodes. The pendulum will start swinging in the other direction. That's all okay in my viewpoint. Like all these systems, all these implementations are just there to allow the free market to adjust itself in near real time, nearish real time to adjust itself to what the market needs, rather than being some sort of down from on activity for sure. And that could have an effect on LP yield, at least in the short term. That's true, but maybe not in the long. But no, I don't see any significant problems with that.
Cool. If there's anyone else that wants to come up, you can hit that request button. Let me just go through the announcements from today again. First off, there's a trading competition going on right now on Binance for Rune. So any user who trades at least 3,500 Rune during the promotion period will be ranked on their total Rune trading volume. And there's a bunch of prizes that are available. I think it's $400,000 for this Rune trading competition. So I guess if you are first place in volume on Binance, you can win $50,000 in Rune, and then $40,000 for second place, $30,000 for second place. There's a lot of prizes on this thing, and it's open from the 24th. So I guess it is open today actually, and it concludes on the 7th of July. So it's one of the pinned tweets that's on the top of the space here. So just scroll up and check out the Rune trading competition on Binance. Huge amount of prizes there. And also Chad, Barraford, Gavin from Nine Realms, and Chris from Grassroots Crypto will be on Binance Live this Sunday, the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's just another AMA and Q&A. on Binance Live. And if you ask a question that is answered during the live stream, you can win rune prizes as well. There's a bunch of rune going out to people who ask questions that are answered on stream or selected, I believe. It's also one of the pinned tweets on top. So scroll all the way to the right and you'll see the AMA questions. Just ask your question there. I put your Binance user ID and you can win a bunch of prizes from Binance just for asking a question to Chad for the next space. Other than that, we have the redesigned THORChain.com, which we've been wanting to put out for a while, but it's going out very soon. This is a preview. Pluto's pinned tweet on the top here, the THORChain-next.netlify.app, and you can check out the redesigned THORChain.com website. And also there is a POAP for being here, a proof of attendance NFT. It's spelled POAP on the App Store. If you download the app and you go to Mint and type in the secret word, all one word, all caps, mainnet is here. It's all caps, mainnet is here. You can get the free NFT for being here, just as a proof of attendance, fun thing for everyone that attended today.
I just wanted to jump in real quick back to the kill switch thing. I was curious, how we're doing overall with the supply of rune and how much has been upgraded to native. So I checked my handy spreadsheet and we're already over 91.4% native rune. So that's awesome. If we look just a few months ago, we were, I think, in the high 50s or low 60s. So we've only got, about 8.5% left to convert. So definitely don't get left behind and upgrade your rune to native before it's too late.
Sweet. Anyone else want to come up or say anything? Anyone that's up on stage right now? Some closing thoughts?
By the way, I think I was just invited to appear on CoinDesk TV on, I think it's Monday at 9 a.m. or maybe the following Monday. I'm not sure. I'll tweet out once I actually get it kind of sorted. Monday, the 27th at 9 a.m. I think it's going to be live on the website, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm sure there'll be like a YouTube video later on too if you miss it. But if anyone wants to check that out, you're welcome to tune in.
So yeah, man, you've been killing it on all these spaces and also all the podcasts and media things. Great job, Chad. I brought up John K is here and also PaperX's hand up.
Hi guys, congrats on mainnet, run onwards, THORchat. I have question. What's the difference between yield bearing synths and side pool liquidity? What's the difference? Chat, maybe.
Yeah, so yield-bearing synths is just a mechanism to achieve single-sided yield. So they're basically the same thing. It's just calling it two different things. Like we call Obamacare, but it's actually called Housing Affordable Act. I think something like this. It's like two different names for accomplishing the same thing.
Okay, thanks.
Paper, what's up?
I was just thinking. I wanted to mention that I feel like we've got a lot of THORchats from all over the world really, and now that we've had mainnet, I think we should definitely shout it from the rooftop. And so because obviously we're really close knit as a community, and everyone knows each other really well. But I think this is a really good opportunity. Like if you have any native language crypto communities that you're part of or you haven't been engaging in, and you feel there's opportunity to, I think mainnet is definitely the best opportunity to do it. We've got quite a few different language channels on the THORswap Discord, and a question that gets asked quite a lot is, what does mainnet mean, and what does it signify? And obviously the Medium article is amazing, but it's quite long, right? So yeah, everyone, if you can be a good ambassador to THORChain and help sort of break it down and kind of express the potential of what THORChain could be from this point onwards, I think that would do a really a lot of good for our community. I'm always surprised to talk to people who've never heard of THORChain before, or they've only heard about it for the first time and are shocked at such just the aspect of the possibility of multi-chain, cross-chain native swaps, being possibility. So obviously in the sort of the current market conditions, we're all really focused on being heads down building. But as as a community, obviously continue to engage with your fellow THORchats. But if you could just outreach to other communities as well, or even other crypto communities, right? Like I just saw a tweet by Familiar Cow responding to someone requesting about Cardano integration on THORchain, and they're saying like, oh, we don't like Cardano, which is like I think it's just one of those situations where like obviously we're hoping like people come to us, but we could always go to other crypto blockchain communities as well, and sort of offer the fact that like, hey, we're not centralized, and there's no like specific roadmap of like which chain we're integrating, right? So it's really a kind of we meet in the middle sort of situation. And I do remember like despite how I guess unfortunately the whole Terra situation like unraveled, I do remember like I think Terra integration being really enjoyable, just because I think members from both communities were really engaged with one another, and everyone's really excited. And I think for future chain integrations, if other chains are interested and excited about the process of what THORchain could bring, that makes it all really smooth in terms of integrations. So just a couple of thoughts about like I guess what we could achieve as a community from this point onwards. Now that we've hit mainnet.
Yeah, really good points. With the Terra launch, it was so exciting just having such an overlap and excitement in the communities. So if we can cultivate that for this Atom launch, for Avalanche after that, that would really be incredible. So if people do have, connections to kind of people in those ecosystems, I know I would love to do spaces. I'm sure Cal would, Chad B, everyone. Hopefully we can do that and really get THORchain out of just the THORchat bubble and really into the broader crypto sphere bubble, which I think Nine Realms is really spearheading that with the mainnet launch. Also, again, just to mention to those consensus recordings, that's also pinned up. It was Chad B's tweet. But yeah, there was a lot of talk on that sort of thing and like what mainnet means moving forward from Nine Realms perspective, and I thought it was really exciting to hear. So definitely check that out as well.
Yeah, great. I think it's been about 2 hours now, so we can start wrapping up. Sorry for anyone that's waiting, but people got to get about their days soon. So thanks everyone for coming out. It's definitely time for the next stage of growth for THORchain. Now we're kind of onto the stage of growth and explosion outward, especially with the aggregators and just sucking up liquidity with this single-sided yield feature that's coming down the pipeline, and along with all these exciting chain integrations that are happening. So there's never been a better time to be part of the THORchain community, and I think a lot of people that are here, they understand the multi-chain vision and what THORchain tries to achieve for the space as a whole. So thanks for being here. If you're here, this is the mainnet launch of THORchain. So we made it. We're here. It's a decentralized community. There's no there's no leaders. There's just groups of people who want to make this project better and see it succeed, and suck up all this liquidity and be the backbone for decentralized layer one trading. We don't need bridges. We don't need wrapped assets. We got these pretty nice rotating TSS vaults and continuous liquidity pools to power it.
We don't need no stinking bridges.
And with that, gentlemen, any closing thoughts, Pluto? Aridonis?
What's that quote from Back to the Future? Roads, where we're going, we're not going to need any roads.
Yeah, that was like the
where we're going, we won't need bridges.
Absolutely.
Combine Blazing Saddles and Back to the Future, but we'll let it go.
Quick, somebody meme that up and
meme it up. Yeah. Somebody give me that meme. I love it.
Just before we go, I've got one last present for everyone. I just got permission to do like a surprise giveaway. So I did. I was fortunate to kind of honored to do the banner for like the mainnet article. So we made like a Thor mug with the art. So yeah, we're giving it away on THORchat's DAO. I just retweeted it. So yeah, we're giving away 3 to anyone who's like part of this celebration spaces. So yeah, just check out my Twitter.
Great. It's also the banner of the THORChain Twitter account now. So
cool.
Yeah. Welcome to Mainnet.
I just pinned it too. I don't know if it already was, but that's a pretty sick looking mug. Well done on the design.
Yeah, I figured I wanted to like have a present for everyone.
Yeah, cool.
Any closing thoughts, Pluto, Adonis, before you wrap up?
Nah, man. Good job, everyone.
Onwards.
All right, onwards.
Cheers.
We hold these spaces
Cheers.
every Friday too. So Friday at noon, guys come hang out, ask questions about THORChain, and just listen to the latest developments and what's going on. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Catch you next time.
See you guys. Bye.
See you, everyone.